Amy Winehouse was a unique voice and songwriter. She stood apart from other people in the music industry because of her raw honesty.
She was such a strong presence. This woman is ferocious. Not only has she got tenderness in her soul, she's got fire.
She was one of the greatest singers that any of us have ever heard. She was also an extraordinary character.
They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. Yes, I've been black, but when I come back, no, no, no.
As much as things went wrong for her, as much as her life span out of control, she had this incredible ability to pour every aspect of life into her music.
She didn't care how it came across or what sort of message she was sending out. She was always very direct, Amy.
When you walk in the bar and you're dressed like a star, rocking your F-me pumps, and the man notice you with your Gucci back crew, can't tell who he's looking to, 'cause you all look the same. Everyone knows your name, and that's your whole
She began writing songs at the age of 14. By 19, she had a record contract. She was just 20 when her first album, Frank, came out in 2003.
You don't like players.
A youthful jazz revival had already seen Jamie Cullum and Nora Jones rise up the charts. But Winehouse's record had an urban edge, a rawness to it that set it apart.
Amy Winehouse's first album, Frank, is exactly what it says. It is this frank telling of this young woman's life and the relationships she's had, the heartbreak, the love, the complicated things that have already affected her.
You should be stronger than me. You've been here 7 years longer than me. Don't you know you're supposed to be the man? Not pale in comparison to who you think I am. You always want to talk it through. I don't care. I always have to comfort you when I'm there.
The standout for me is the track Stronger Than Me. And that is a kind of a future echo of where she's going to go, because it's autobiographical, it's honest, and it shows a level of songwriting ability that completely belies her age. You know, 19-year-olds don't usually have the life experience to draw on to write a song like that.
This was a young girl singing in the way she might actually be reproaching a lover.
It's very honest, and this is aspects of her life that you would have thought she'd want to keep hidden. It kind of showed her as being rather bold, a force to be reckoned with, you know, maybe a little bit scary.
Despite critical acclaim in Britain, the album made no impact in America. Amy's breakthrough there would come 3 years later, in 2006, with the release of Back to Black. The album left jazz behind. Amy had a new sound and a new look.
I think, like with her music, Amy Winehouse sampled different things in her style. So she had this kind of Ronettes look with the beehive and the eyeliner, but also she's covered in tattoos and she's quite punk, like Johnny Thunders. And so she's taking all these little elements and creating almost this kind of hybrid of them all.
The look is, especially when she starts to really lose weight, there's something kind of disturbing about it. There's no getting away from that. And yet, I found her absolutely magnetic.
Like I knew I would. I told you I was trouble. You know that I'm no good.
Back to Black embraced R&B and soul. It was a retro 1960s sound, kept contemporary by the fierce honesty of Amy's lyrics. Irresistible tunes such as Rehab and You Know I'm No Good drove the album and Amy to international renown.
Her album Back to Black comes 3 years after her first album, Frank, and it's a quantum leap. There's a maturity to it that sounds like there's some Billie Holiday in there somewhere. The magic source, though, I think you have to say on the album, is Mark Ronson, the producer. And the two of them working together, really, it's the dream team.
It's one of those albums I will just never forget listening to the first time. I put it on in this car and I literally had to stop. I just listened to probably the first 4 or 5 tracks before I realised I was going to be late for something, and I was like, wow, where is all this coming from? What fed into this? What's she been listening to? The maturity, the musical references, the startling unusualness of that sound at that time just took my breath away.
It's remarkable. If you listen to the song Back to Black, it is a very unusual musical structure. It has this section which it drops away into almost nothing. You know, it's almost avant-garde, the way it works. And then you've got songs like Rehab, which is essentially a girl group sound.
They tried to make me go to rehab. I said no, no, no.
It's an album of truth and of heartbreak and of raw vulnerability. And there's no hiding on it. There is no point where she doesn't give you the entire story. And that, in a way, is so unique and so devastating.
Double platinum in the US and won 5 Grammys, including Best Pop Vocal Album. The record was not the beginning of a golden era for Amy. Years of erratic and self-destructive behaviour followed instead. The dramas of her private life spilled across the sidewalks of London and onto the tabloid front pages.
I think Amy was a chronic alcoholic from very early on. She just lashed it. She wasn't someone who got a bit drunk. She was someone who drank to die, in a way.
Just try to make me go to rehab.
I think also we have to contextualise it and think of the period when these things are happening. Everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a camera, which means you can't stick your head out the door without someone taking your picture. And in Amy's case, she wanted to keep it real. So she's not travelling in limousines with smoked windows. She's not really interested in being in the VIP section of exclusive members clubs. She's out on the town.
In May 2007, she married on-again, off-again boyfriend Blake Fielder Civil. The troubled relationship had inspired the agony-drenched songs of Back to Black. Now, just months after the release of that album, the couple were back together.
She became tabloid fodder, and I remember there's some awful photographs which were front page on the tabloids of her covered in blood, barefoot, walking through the streets of London with Blake after they'd had a fight.
They were just so bad for each other. It was like Sid and Nancy, frankly. She just drank fit to die, really. And then when other things got added into that, like crack, I mean, she just didn't have the constitution to support that kind of lifestyle, you know, and she wasn't really eating.
She divorced Fielder Civil in July 2009, but by then Amy was more famous for her binging than her singing. Her substance abuse inevitably took its toll on her live performances. She often appeared dishevelled and intoxicated, struggling to remember the words to her songs. And there was no studio follow-up to Back to Black. One thing she kept doing was drinking.
No, you're a gambling man. Love
Saturday, 2 ambulances rushed to the North London home of Amy Winehouse. It was her bodyguard who had raised the alarm. He had checked on the singer that morning and seen she was asleep. When he returned hours later, he found her still in bed. But she wasn't breathing, and he couldn't find a pulse. There was nothing paramedics could do. Amy was pronounced dead at the scene. An inquest would later determine she had died of alcohol poisoning. She was 27 years old.
She had been very severely bulimic. And so a final drinking binge just killed her. You know, there was no strength left in her body at all. My main reaction was real sadness. It was not that long since I'd met her and really liked her. She was really fun, she was very nice, she was very together, very ambitious, had very clear ideas of what she wanted to do, which was marry jazz and hip hop and find ways to move jazz forward. I remember her talking about that a lot. I would never say from meeting her that there was an inevitability to her death. I think she could have cleaned up and I think she could have sorted herself out, definitely.
For me, it was sadness because it wasn't shock. It was, oh no, not another one, not this one. 2 records, and so young. There was still so much potential. She'd barely scratched the surface.
Musicians and fans, friends and family.
From all that we went.
There were so many tributes to Amy Winehouse when she passed away, from people who worked with her, like Mark Ronson, who called her one of his closest friends, from other performers like Tony Bennett, who called her an extraordinary voice.
There were tributes from everyone from Lady Gaga to Adele to George Michael, and the feeling that she was really loved.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to us.
Amy Winehouse's death came just days after her last public performance. She had surprised crowds at Camden's Roundhouse by taking to the stage alongside her goddaughter, the singer Dion Bronfield. It was not the start of any comeback.
She was so untogether, so out of it, so unpredictable, so unreliable, that the efforts, the attempts to bring things together for a 3rd album were just so stop-start. She was just in no shape to focus on the job in hand. There were performances that were almost scarily chaotic, really, really disturbing and painful to watch.
She was doing concerts where she was booed, she'd sort of kind of react violently. It was awful. There was a concert in Belgrade in 2011, which was a real disaster, and I think a bit of a wake-up call for the people around Amy Winehouse. She was completely out of it, she couldn't do it, she was crying, she couldn't sing. After that, she cancelled her entire tour.
Had Amy lived, and had she been able to get over drug addiction, alcoholism, really bad choices in relationships, that's a lot of ifs. But if that had happened, I think she could have done anything she wanted.
Before her death, Amy Winehouse was supposedly working on her 3rd album, but there had been quite a big gap after Back to Black, in which she'd kind of become this tabloid star as opposed to a music star. But it was said that she had recorded a couple of songs, that they were fantastic, that, you know, she was all set to start recording again, and she was trying to get herself back to a healthy place where she could. And she did record her final piece with Tony Bennett, which was for his Duets album, the song Body and Soul.
Are you pretending it looks like the ending unless I could have one more chance to pretend?
Tony Bennett spoke very highly of her. He said that she was one of the best singers he'd ever worked with. That suggested to me that she was going back to her first love of jazz. And that's probably where she would have gone. She probably would have carried on doing, you know, vocal jazz.
I gladly surrender myself to you, body and soul.
It had been jazz that first lit the flame in her, and Amy carried with her always.
Around midnight.
She worshipped the likes of Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday and Dinah Washington.
She really had almost studied those singers. So the way she phrased lines, the way she interpreted songs, the way she delivered songs, it was so natural. You never felt that she was thinking it through. It was just almost like encoded in her.
In the years since her death, Amy Winehouse has been the subject of biographies, museum exhibits, and an award-winning film. Her hometown of Camden in North London, a bronze statue of Amy was unveiled in 2014. It is a permanent memorial of the singer and the neighbourhood she loved. But it is, of course, in music that her greatest legacy lies.
Waiting for you in the hotel at night.
I think Amy paved the way for a new generation of female singers. Artists like Florence and the Machine, like Adele, who were able to bring something less mainstream to the mainstream, to have a more unique voice instead of the kind of superficial pop fodder that was around in the charts at the time, and also allow people to see female artists as being strong songwriters in their own right as well. You have artists like Lady Gaga, who speaks about how if it wasn't for Amy Winehouse, she didn't feel like she would have been accepted as being, you know, slightly unusual character in kind of mainstream music.
If the success of Adele and Lady Gaga can be traced in part back to Amy, it is also a reminder of what we lost when she died. The singer and songwriter of rare talent, bold, brash, vulnerable, and always honest.
He walks away, the sun goes down, he takes the day, but I'm gone. And in your grave, in this blue shade, my tears dry on their own.
In her writing, there is none more brutal and more truthful. And of course, she has that timeless voice that allows those songs to come through where they don't sound like really depressing blues tracks. They're actually quite uplifting. They've got that kind of melodic Motown pop sound to them. But when you listen to the lyrics, there's something so much darker there.
I wish I could say no regrets and no emotion, no day. 'Cause as we kiss goodbye, the sun sets.
She's also very down to earth, no nonsense, my way or the highway, and this incredible talent on top. But I think the tragedy for Amy Winehouse is that the legacy will always be preserved and based around her early death.
My blue shade, my tears dry on their own.
One thing you have to say is that she wasn't a phony, she was not an imposter. She just was in total command as a performer, as a singer, as a musical interpreter. She made jazz incredibly hip. Up to that point, you'd never have thought that someone who looked like Amy could sing great jazz songs.
I think the best side of Amy Winehouse's legacy is to inhabit herself in song. The music captures humanity in its messiness and its glory. Nobody did heartbreak better than Amy Winehouse.
'Cause just like